It was a peaceful Saturday morning in the quiet solitude of my rural property. I stood on my porch, cradling my favorite mug, the warmth of fresh coffee seeping into my fingers. The air was still, the kind of calm that only the countryside could offer. That serenity shattered when a long procession of SUVs, campers, and sedans rolled down my private dirt road, their tires kicking up dust clouds that blurred the treeline. I choked on my drink, stunned. At first, I thought I might still be dreaming, but no, it was real. People poured out of their vehicles as if they had just arrived at a lakeside resort. They stretched, yawned, and began unloading tents, coolers, and lawn chairs. Some wandered deeper into the property, already staking out prime spots to set up camp. I stood there, dumbfounded. This was my land. And then I saw her, Agnes Blackwood, the self-declared queen of the Willow Creek Estates Neighborhood Association, clipboard in hand, her perfectly manicured bob bouncing with every purposeful step. Agnes moved through the chaos like a general surveying her troops, that smug expression of hers, the one that always made my blood boil, firmly in place. I set my coffee down before I hurled it, walking off the porch and approaching the swarm. People were hammering stakes, rolling out sleeping bags, and lighting up small grills like they were in a designated campsite. "Morning, neighbor," Agnes chirped, all smiles. "We appreciate your generous donation to the Neighborhood Association's annual camping retreat." I blinked. "My what?" She laughed, waving off my confusion. "Oh, don't be silly. I told the board we needed a community getaway, and your land is just perfect. Lots of space, away from the city, and it's not like you're doing anything with it." I clenched my jaw. "Agnes, this is my private property. None of these people have permission to be here." Her expression didn't falter. "Well, technically, the association agreed on a shared outdoor experience. Since you live in the area, you're a part of it." "I'm not part of the HOA," I snapped. Her smile faltered briefly, then reappeared, stronger than ever. "Well, you should be. Besides, everything is already arranged. Just one weekend. Honestly, you should feel honored to be included." "Honored?" I scanned the crowd. Someone had already started building a fire pit. Children were darting around the field, and a guy in cargo shorts was tying a hammock between two of my maple trees. "This is trespassing," I said through gritted teeth. "You need to tell everyone to leave." Agnes rolled her eyes. "Come on, don't be so dramatic. It's just camping." Just camping on land they didn't own. Before I could say more, a shriek rang out. A teenage girl had stepped into a fresh pile of cow manure. "EW. There's poop everywhere," she cried. "Wait," her mother gasped. "You mean this isn't a prepped campsite?" Agnes hesitated. "Well, Richard, there are no bathrooms." Someone else shouted, "What's that smell?" A man in a Hawaiian shirt asked, nose wrinkling. I almost laughed. My property wasn't groomed for tourism. It was raw land, home to cattle and untamed nature. Agnes turned back to me, now more stern. "People took time off work. Some drove hours. We brought RVs. It's too late to cancel." "Not my problem," I glared at her. "Technically, the HOA, for the last time," I interrupted, "the HOA has zero authority here. Every person here is trespassing." A nervous murmur spread through the crowd. A few people looked uneasy. Agnes wasn't done. "Maybe we should vote on it." "Vote? You think you can vote to take over my land?" She lifted her chin. "We live in a democracy, don't we?" I took a breath and pulled out my phone. "Time," I said simply, then spoke into the call. Agnes frowned. "Time for what?" A guttural growl silenced her. From behind my barn, 6 massive dogs emerged, my security team. Belgian Malinois and German Shepherds, sleek, disciplined, trained to protect. Titan, the alpha, let out a bark that echoed across the field. The crowd froze. "Are those friendly?" a woman whispered. "Depends," I said. Agnes paled. "You can't bring attack dogs into this. And you can bring 100 strangers onto my land?" The dogs moved forward slowly, eyes focused, not aggressive yet. Agnes swallowed. "You wouldn't, they don't attack unless provoked," I said. Panic set in. Tents collapsed, Coolers were packed in haste. People tripped over each other. A family of 4 sprinted to their minivan. Agnes screamed, "I'm calling the police." I pulled out my phone again. "Go ahead." I already did. 2 squad cars rolled in moments later. Agnes's confidence cracked as officers stepped out. She stormed toward them. "Officers, thank God. This man has unleashed dangerous animals on us. We were having a peaceful event, and he threatened us." The older officer raised an eyebrow. "Sir, you called about trespassers?" "Yes," I said. "This is my land. No one had permission. The dogs are trained. No one was harmed." The younger officer turned to Agnes. "Do you have written permission to be here?" Agnes faltered. "Well, the HOA agreed. Do you have written permission from the owner?" He looked around for backup, but no one dared meet his eyes. I walked to my truck, pulled a folder from the glove box, and handed it over. The officer flipped through it. "Deed, isn't your name, ma'am?" "Agnes Blackwood." "Ma'am, you're trespassing." "But he's part of the neighborhood. The HOA has jurisdiction." "Not how property law works," the officer said flatly. Agnes turned red. "We planned this for months." "Still not his problem," the officer said flatly. "Pack up or get cited." Titan growled again. The message was clear. 10 minutes later, the last of the campers had cleared out. Agnes turned to me, furious. "You're ruining this neighborhood." "I don't care. This is my land. Try again, and the dogs won't just be watching." Her face drained of color. She stomped to her car and drove off in a cloud of dust. Peace returned. Or so I thought. 3 days later, I received a county complaint: misuse of land, environmental hazard claims, safety violations. "Agnes," I laughed. "She actually filed it." I gathered evidence, called a lawyer, and scheduled a meeting with the county. When I arrived, she was already there, dressed like she was auditioning for local office. She smirked. The official called us in. "You're accused of hosting an unsanctioned event, housing dangerous animals, and maintaining unsafe property," the official said. Agnes launched into her performance. I calmly handed over my folder, security footage, police reports, photos, and my deed. The official sighed. "Ma'am, this is private land. HOA rules don't apply. If you file another baseless complaint, you may face charges." Agnes's jaw clenched. She stormed out. That evening, as the sun dipped behind the trees, I sat on my porch again. Titan lay beside me, Shadow and the rest nearby. I raised my now heated mug. This land was mine, and Agnes had learned the hard way what happens when you mess with the wrong neighbor. But something told me this wasn't quite over yet. A week later, I found a certified letter tacked to my mailbox. It was from the Willow Creek Estates HOA, informing me that due to my unneighborly conduct and disregard for community harmony, a special meeting had been called to vote on my mandatory inclusion into the HOA. I scoffed. They really weren't going to let this go. I contacted my lawyer, Ms. Davies, a sharp woman with a no-nonsense attitude. "They can't force you into an HOA if your property isn't part of the original development," she assured me. "But be prepared. They might try some underhanded tactics." The special meeting was held at the community clubhouse. As I walked in, the atmosphere was thick with disapproval. Agnes stood at the front, looking like a martyr addressing a congregation of sinners. "Neighbors," she began, her voice trembling with faux outrage, "we have gathered here today because of the egregious actions of one individual who has shown a blatant disregard for our community's well-being." She gestured dramatically in my direction. "His dangerous animals, his refusal to cooperate, his dust. It lowers our property values." A chorus of disgruntled murmurs rippled through the room. The vote was rigged, of course. Every member of Agnes's clique raised their hands in favor of my mandatory inclusion. When it came to the few neutral parties, Agnes shot them a look that could curdle milk, and their hands reluctantly followed suit. "It's decided," Agnes declared triumphantly. "Mr. Emerson is now a member of the Willow Creek Estates HOA and subject to all our rules and regulations." I simply raised an eyebrow. "Is that so?" I said calmly, reaching into my jacket pocket. Because I happen to have here a certified letter from the county zoning board. Seems they received quite a few complaints about unsanctioned events, environmental hazards, and safety violations originating from this property. I gestured around the clubhouse. A nervous cough broke the silence. Agnes's face paled. Apparently, I continued, reading from the letter, due to repeated violations of county ordinances. The Willow Creek Estates clubhouse is hereby declared temporarily unfit for assembly until all cited issues are rectified and a thorough inspection is completed. Failure to comply will result in further penalties. A collective gasp filled the room. Agnes sputtered, This is outrageous. You can't do this. Actually, Agnes, I said, a small smile playing on my lips, it seems you already did. The irony hung heavy in the air. The very tool they intended to use against me had been turned against them. The meeting dissolved into chaos, with residents demanding answers from a flustered Agnes. The following weeks were a whirlwind. The county investigation revealed a slew of violations at the clubhouse, from unpermitted construction to improper waste disposal, all conveniently overlooked by Agnes during her long reign. The clubhouse remained closed, effectively crippling the HOA's activities. Membership dwindled as residents grew disillusioned with Agnes's leadership. Finally, a vote of no confidence was held, and Agnes Blackwood was ousted as president. Life in Willow Creek Estates slowly returned to a semblance of peace. The dust settled, literally and figuratively. The new HOA board, comprised of more reasonable individuals, even extended an olive branch, acknowledging the initial misunderstanding and assuring me that my property rights would be respected. As for Agnes, she became a pariah, her authority shattered, her attempts at maintaining control ridiculed. She eventually put her house on the market and moved away, presumably to find another neighborhood to improve. Months later, I stood on my porch, the evening air carrying the gentle sounds of crickets. Titan rested his head on my lap. The Willow Creek Estates annual community picnic was happening down the road at a newly renovated clubhouse, a far cry from the chaotic campsite on my land. I declined the invitation. My peace was best enjoyed on my own terms. As a car drove past, I saw a familiar figure in the passenger seat, Agnes, looking defeated as she left Willow Creek behind. A sense of quiet satisfaction settled over me. I had defended my land, exposed their hypocrisy, and ultimately restored a sense of balance to the neighborhood. The line had been crossed, but in the end, it was drawn anew, clearly defining respect for property and the limits of community overreach. The peace that settled over my porch that evening felt truly earned, a quiet victory in the ongoing saga of neighborly relations.